everything is so pink. So, beta didn't happen. I'd explain why, but I don't really care. I mean, so my month of April kind of went like this. Like I had things to do, la 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 la. It's cool. And then all of a sudden, my amount of things to do kind of went like, Pwah! And I was like, what is this thing is happening? There are exams, and there are people, and they think I will do well, and I don't know. So then the exams happened, and 3 of them went acceptably well. One of them, I went like this, and died. So, we'll see how that one is. I got a haircut. It's shorter now. Not by a lot, but like, had a lot of dead hair, and then I just didn't do anything about it, because I just didn't. But then I did. And so, yeah. And, yeah, that happened. Then I took senior pictures. I don't know, do you guys do senior pictures? Up here we do senior pictures. In South Dakota we do senior pictures. And basically I just took a lot of pictures and smiled for like 2.5 hours. And that's exhausting. Like talking for 2.5 or smiling for 2.5 hours is just exhausting. No, excuse me, that was rude. I went home and slept. I've been working a lot, because apparently that's what adults do, and since I'm almost an adult, that is apparently acceptable for me to work that much. Yeah. And then Girls' State happened. Girls' State is basically something put on by the veterans of the state and their auxiliary ladies, which is a bunch of little old ladies who just run around and like boss those ladies around because we are girls. And apparently we need a lot of help with politics. Probably because there's a lack of female leaders that is really stupid, especially for like, hang on, this is bothering me, I can't lean. There's a lack of female leadership in politics and in just basic life in America. So these people try to encourage and develop the skills of girls to like become those next leaders. And it's inspiring. I went with my whole cynical attitude like, yeah, this will be great. This will be fantastic. I will hate this. These people will be stupid. Ugh. No, not the case at all. I went there and I loved it. The people, the girls I stayed with were all really nice girls. They were all nice and sweet and funny and interesting, and they were all from like really tiny towns, and I'm from like a big city. Well, like the biggest city in South Dakota, which has a population of 156,800 and something. Not to brag, but yeah, we're kind of a big deal. But so there were all these really cool girls, and I had a really cool counselor. It was just very sweet, and the speakers we had were amazing. We had a couple senators from our state government come, the attorney general, who is like the lawyer for the governor's chief of staff, freaking chief of staff, and he brought his child's underwear with him and told a story that involved them as a visual aid and made himself sound kind of like a child molester in the very beginning. But he's not. He is not. He is a great human being. Apparently our governor had a tragic past, and he kind of just shared it with us, and I was like, I love our governor so much. And we had our governor come speak to us, and Christy Nome, our girl from House of Representatives, represent. She wasn't actually that bad. I thought I was going to hate her and want to stab her with dull knives, but I actually really liked her. I liked her state senators too, and the chief of staff guy who told us, yeah. And then I really enjoyed our governor's speech, like, Governor Dugard, why are you saying so many nice things? I love it. he was just so encouraging in his words. And then he was like, I've always wanted to go out of state because I don't want to stay in one place for my entire life and just know one place. So I've always been like, I'll leave the state, and they will be like, don't come back, you know, because you left the state. And he was like, if you go out of school or out of state for school, come back. Come back. There will always be a place in South Dakota for you. And I was just like, I'm gonna have a moment. Not really, but yeah. And then we had this professor come in. I don't know what he was the professor of, but this guy came in and he talked to us about how there's those like really slimy, gross people who are like really whiny, and to demonstrate this person, he had this story about he was going to spend 3 months in India learning really in-depth about Gandhi, right? I don't really care about Gandhi. Like, he didn't really... I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, so he was gonna really study in-depth Gandhi, right? And he got on a plane with like 40 people. They like had a plane ride for like 30 hours. They're tired, exhausted. It's monsoon season. So they get in these taxis in, I don't know, somewhere in India. Big city. Probably Bombay. Bombay's not in India. What am I smoking? I don't know. They went somewhere big. And they get in these taxis and they're terrified that these guys are going to rob them. And they don't. They get to their place, alright, right? And it's this, like, they go over this hill and, like, they have open sewers on each side of the road in India. And it's monsoon season. So they've spewed over into the road. So here are these people slogging up this hill through just sewage and just human feces and nastiness, and it's raining, and they're just exhausted and wet and scared. And they end up in this slum in India. Like a really terrible slum. They're going to the Gandhi Freedom House, and they end up in a slum. And they're, you know, looking at each other like, what is this? You know, where are we going? And so they go to the Gandhi Freedom House, and they expect this really, you know, elitist, like, building and all this cool stuff, because it's Gandhi, right? But no, it's another slum. And they get inside, and the guy's like, yeah, you guys can stay the night. There aren't any cots. There's nothing. I mean, they offer a few pillows and a couple blankets, and they're like, you can sleep here on the cold, hard ground. And, you know, you're sheltered. So for them, that's what's important, is you have a roof over your head. Like, they're like, blankets? What? Like, bitch, you don't need those. So this girl comes, and she's like, that's mine. That blanket is, or that pillow is mine. I need a pillow. So she takes the whole pillow to herself. The other units, you know, they're like conserving space. They're like getting in groups and sharing stuff and working together and, like, you know, really making it happen. And that girl wakes up the next day covered. Her face is just covered in red marks because that pillow had been coated in fleas. And that's what a really small person, he said, looked like. To someone who's just so selfishly wanting his, you know, stuff for themselves and all mine, me, right? And I'm like, dude, you went to India, that is so legit, right on. Oh, you could talk all day now, I don't care. And because I am so sheltered, I could not handle India. I could not. But, so, he went on, and he's like, and he starts talking about power, and the most powerful person he ever met. Well, he was going to the University of Virginia, and he got to hear Mother Teresa give a speech. So he's like, she was this little old lady just walking out between these two big guards, because someone had threatened to kill her, you know, because, you know, you can't be a great person in society without someone wanting to kill you. So she goes out there, you know, and she starts giving the speech, and he says, he started, like, crying. Here he is, this whole cynical, analytical scholar, you know, listening to this old lady speak, and he looks around and everyone, they're not a dry eye in the audience, they're all crying, and he's like, that's what real power is. She identified her gifts, what she could do to improve things. Like, some people, you know, like, have gifts for reading or teaching and, you know, conveying things to others, and others have, like, gifts of building things and everything. He said she identified those gifts, and she turned around and used them for the betterment of others. And he said she didn't start out like that. I mean, she was 40 when she saw this, you know, this man just dying of leprosy, and she, like, just helped him, and then she was like, I have to go help these people, and then she did it, and she gave up everything for that. And he said doing that gave her the most power he'd ever seen have in person. And he's like, there's this continuum, there's that small little bitter person on one side, and your own Mother Teresa on the other, because everyone's is different, you know, you can't have the same ideal self. He's like, because you've got your ideal self and you've got your real self. And the goal is to make the two match. To make them, you know, be harmonious with each other. And he's like, I know I'm not the ideal person I want to be, but I can see that person and I can compare them and Mother Teresa and try and match all of that up to, like, become a much better person. And that was the speech that inspired me the most. Like, I had all of these great politicians, all of these brilliant speakers, fantastic people, and this professor from a state university. There's nothing wrong with the state university, I'm not trying to say that, but from a state university who gave this simple little speech, and it was the most powerful thing ever. And it was really cool. So that was the speaking part of Girl State. Make another video talking about Girl State later. But yeah. I'm glad to be back, guys.